So here's the thing. I've spent years holding things in, trying to deal with things on my own, not wanting to burden anyone with my problems. But the truth is, talking helps, and most of the time it's what we all need. So let's explore why we don't talk, but we really should. Take a seat. This is the Life Bench. Before we start, I just want to say a big thank you to everyone that listened to the first episode, to everyone that followed and liked the page. It really means a lot. And I've received some really nice messages from all of you. When you start something, even though you believe in it, there's always those doubts in your mind, that little voice in your head telling you why it's not a good idea, whether anyone will like it. And that stops a lot of people. But if you believe in it, just go for it. Life's too short to sit on your dreams or ideas. And most people are supportive. And those that don't, it doesn't matter. You're not going to appeal to everyone. And that's absolutely fine. But you shouldn't let that stop you. I had one message say that I had a voice for reading storybooks. I'm not sure about that, but it was nice to hear anyway. So why is it so hard to talk? Well, as I said at the start, I've spent years holding things in, and stopping and looking at it for a while, I can probably attribute it to a few different reasons. Growing up, I think we can all resonate with the feeling of wanting to fit in, not wanting to be judged or appear weak. And then coming from a house where you don't see much communication or openness. My dad wasn't, or still isn't, very open when it comes to his feelings. We've never had a heart-to-heart conversation, really. I think I've only seen him cry once. In 2012, when my uncle suddenly passed away, it left me as the only male on that side of the family, and therefore a sense of responsibility to be strong and supportive to the others through that difficult time. For many years, I've also not been the best at communicating with how I'm feeling with my wife. Despite being one of the kindest, most open, most supportive person that I know, I've still just not been very good at it. In the last few years, I've got better, and the difference it's made to our relationship has been amazing. Throughout all of this, I had Ats, and also his family. When my parents were splitting up, they were really there for me, and I was always able to talk to them. In particular, his mum Rose, who became like a second mum to me, I guess. After our visits to the Life Bench, we'd head back to his house for a cup of tea and a cigarette, sit in the shed and talk to Rose. It was easy, and there was never a problem of opening up to her. It didn't feel like talking to a parent. And of course, there have been other people who have played an important part in my life. People I've been able to open up to when I've needed it. It's taken a lot of years to truly appreciate these connections and these important people that I've had in my life. And I'm sure you'll resonate with some of the reasons that I've said. But there are also others which we don't often realise. The way we interact and communicate these days is very different. So much of our lives are spent online. Text messages, Zoom meetings, social media. The reality is that all of this means in-person reactions have dramatically decreased. And the less we have of these reactions, the harder it becomes when we do. We almost forget how to interact. I was born in 1987, so I experienced a time before the internet and mobile phones were so prevalent, when you had to either use a landline or go round to your friends' houses to actually speak to them. And even when I had a mobile phone or access to MSN Messenger, it didn't replace those in-person connections. Going out and doing stuff was still the main thing that we did. And seeing it develop to the way it is now is strange. But it's part of the reason why I wanted to do this. We're also affected by all the day-to-day stuff. Our busy work lives, being a good partner or parent. For some it's money worries. And all of this adds up. So when it comes to opening up, there are a few reasons why we hold back. A common one being that we don't want to burden others with how we're feeling or our problems that we have in our head. I know I've certainly felt like this before, thinking that I'll just deal with it on my own. And then the feeling that people have it worse than us and somehow our problems maybe seem not as bad as others, so they're insignificant. But that's certainly not the case. It's all relative to you and how you're feeling. Again, there are people in a lot worse position than I am. But does that make my feelings or thoughts any less relevant? We also think that people won't understand what we're feeling or how we're thinking. And that's true. But that doesn't mean that they don't want to listen or they can't help. Sometimes just talking and the other person saying nothing is all you need to do. Not everyone will have the answers and not everyone needs them. With my wife, she struggles with her mental health a lot, and being diagnosed with OCD, there were plenty of times where she didn't open up to me because she thought that I wouldn't understand. And when we would have conversations, I wouldn't understand some of the thoughts and feelings that she was telling me. But that didn't mean that she couldn't talk to me. I was always willing to listen whether I understood or not. As humans, we don't want to appear weak to others, and therefore showing emotion or speaking about how we may be struggling, that can sometimes come across as, or we think that it comes across as a sign of weakness to others, and that we will maybe be vulnerable in that position. But it doesn't. Being able to express your feelings, being able to admit that you're struggling, is a sign of strength and something we all need to do. We all need to speak up at different times. We all need support at different times. And the only way we can get that is by talking to others, speaking up. People aren't mind readers. They need to know when we're struggling. They need to know when you need to talk to them. And I know that it's not easy. But the alternative is to keep these feelings and thoughts inside. Keep them bottled up. And the consequences of doing that are a lot worse. It may feel like the right thing at that time. And maybe we get some relief for a little while. But all you're doing is prolonging that feeling. You're putting it off. You're putting off dealing with it. And in the end, that only makes things worse. If we deal with it at the start and nip it in the bud, it can stop it from getting 10 times worse. Something that could easily be resolved or talked over could be dealt with in the first conversation. If we let it fester and allow our brains the chance to overthink or create scenarios that are non-existent, then the situation seems a whole lot worse. worse than it actually is, and we can start to feel lonely, more anxious, become really shut off. And eventually this leads to a point where we can't take it anymore. The pressure of holding things in gets too much. And from my experience, it culminates at different points when you just can't take it anymore, and everything comes out. Your brain just can't handle it anymore, and there's a flurry of emotion, things you haven't said for so long, feelings you haven't felt for a while. They all just come to a head, and there's this release. And afterwards you feel relief. But those thoughts and feelings, they're not resolved from that one release. They still need to be spoken about. You still need to be open and honest about how you're feeling and actually deal with the root cause. A few weeks ago, just before I started this podcast, there was a moment whilst I'd been off recovering from an operation where 10 years or so worth of emotion and unsaid thoughts, grief, anxiety, all came out. And I've never felt emotion like that before. There are things that I've never felt before. And it was hard to face those thoughts. For so long, my brain had been protecting me, or I'd been blocking it out. And it was hard. I had to sit and try and unpack it all to my wife, try and make sense of some of these feelings that were happening. And afterward, I was tired, drained, but I needed to continue talking after that. I needed to continue thinking about it, opening up when I needed to, and facing what was going on in my head. And it was because for a long time I hadn't spoken up. I hadn't talked to the people that I needed to. And it gave me the final push I needed to make this podcast, to actually act on the idea that I'd had for so long, and to create an idea based on my experiences, based on my friendship, based on the chats that me and Ads had on the Life Bench, to show that we all need to talk, and the benefits that happen when we do that. No, I'm not saying that talking will solve every problem, but it certainly helps. And I think that's the key takeaway here. Nothing good comes from bottling up our thoughts and feelings. Whatever you may think, whatever your brain may tell you, how trivial they are, how small you think they are, talking and opening up is the real benefit. You will feel relief and clarity and connection to who it is you're talking to. And I said earlier that people won't have all the answers, but that's not the point. That's not the reason to not say anything. Someone just listening is all that you need. And I think you'll be surprised by what happens when you do that. I know I certainly have been, and it's taken me the best part of 10 years to realise it. And I still don't have it all figured out. I'm sure there will be plenty of times that I don't speak up when I should do. But I'm learning to get better at that. And by doing this podcast, I hope that I can help others do that. Since the first episode came out and the first few posts that I've done, I've already connected with people that I've not spoken to for a long time. And it's made me realise that I've neglected that for a long time. And that it's important not to shut people off even if it feels like the best thing to do at the time. We all need support. We all need people to talk to. And it's been nice to reconnect with those people. It links quite nicely with another project that I'm working on to help people connect, which is quite ironic coming from someone that's very introverted and not with a massive group of friends, that I'm trying to work on something to help people connect. But life does have a funny way of working itself out. It doesn't seem like that all the time, but eventually you end up in the right place. I just want to finish by saying that it's okay to not be okay, and that if you are struggling, reach out to the people closest to you. Speak up to your partner, or reach out to me. Send me a message, send me a voice note. It's important that we stay connected to the people that are important to us, to keep those friendships, to keep those connections. It's not always easy. I understand that, with our busy lives, everything that's going on. But the benefits that we get from those connections, from those conversations that we have, cannot be matched. And it's something I miss a lot with Ads not being here. But it's given me the fresh impetus to do this, as well as to make more of an effort with the other people that I'm closest with. Thank you again for listening. Your support is very much appreciated. Please continue to like, share, follow, subscribe, because all of that helps. The quote to end this episode comes from Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2. In the vision scene where Harry meets Dumbledore in King's Cross Station for one final conversation. And it reflects on the immense power of words, how they can hurt, heal, inspire, and even change the course of people's lives. When reciting movie quotes, it's easy to read it as an impression, so I'll try my best not to do that. Words are, in my not so humble opinion, our most inexhaustible source of magic.